Not only must we develop commitments in our relationships in family life, not only must we develop commitments in our vocational life, but in our religious life. This is an interfaith gathering, and it's a good thing. A friend of mine pastored a church on the east side of Manhattan. He lived on Roosevelt Island, and if you know New York, there's a cable car that comes over from Roosevelt Island at 54th Street. Every morning he'd come over on that cable car, come down the steps, and there was a greasy spoon right at the bottom of the steps. And he'd go in there and get a cup of coffee and a donut every single day. He did that for about a month and a half, and then 6:30 in the morning, my friend stood up, and he said, "Could I have your attention, everyone?" 6:30 in the morning, people are not in a mood. He said, "I've been coming in here every single morning for 6 weeks. It's the same crowd here every morning. And I don't know anybody. I don't know anything about anybody. My name's Gordon. I pastor the church just around the corner. Would you go around and introduce yourselves and tell us what you do for a living?" It was incredible. One by one, the people did it. And it was startling who was there. Tom Wolfe, the author. Bill Cosby's wife was there. I mean, it was a virtual who's who. And after that, it was a changed atmosphere. They greeted each other. "Hi, Gordon. Hi, Mary. How you doing there, Tom? How's the book coming?" There was a sense of community generated in that little restaurant. They knew about everybody except the guy who ran the place. Finally, Gordon said, "Harry, we don't know anything about you. Do you have a family? Where'd you come from? Where's your home?" Harry didn't want to answer, but it was one of those situations where everybody ganged up and pressured him. And finally he said, "Okay, if you have to know, I'm from Iraq. I'm from Iraq. And my whole family is in Baghdad." It was on the eve when the first Iraqi war was about to break out, and hostilities against the Iraqis had been fanned to a fever pitch by the press. Remember the first Iraq war and the hatred that was generated. Everybody quieted down. Half of the people in the place were Jewish, and they knew that the rockets in Baghdad were aimed at Tel Aviv. People hunkered down and finished their coffee and donuts and got out of there. The next morning at 5:30, the phone rang. Gordon answered. The voice at the other end said, "Gordon, did you hear? Did you hear? The bombing of Baghdad has begun. They're bombing Baghdad even as we speak." Gordon didn't even finish the conversation. He hung up, wiped the soap off of his face, rushed to the cable car. He wanted to get over there before 6 because he knew that Harry, whose real name was Hassim, would come and open up the place at 6. As he rushed down the steps to be waiting for Hassim, to his amazement, every single person who had coffee and donuts there in the morning had already arrived. They all wanted to do the same thing, to be there to comfort Hassim. When Hassim turned the corner and saw them standing there, he just froze. They ran up and surrounded him. They tried to comfort him. They tried to encourage him. Finally, Tom Wolfe, the agnostic author, said to my friend Gordon, "Well, Gordon, you're the preacher. Pray." So he said, there I stood on the street corner, praying for a Muslim, surrounded by some Jews and some agnostics and a few Catholics, a few Protestants. And I prayed that God would bring peace and end the killing and protect the family of Hassim. He said, when I finished the prayer, we all looked up and there were tears streaming down Hassim's face. He said, all right, but you still have to pay for the donuts." And then he added, "But for you, my friends, and you are my friends, whenever you come in my diner, the coffee for you will always be free." Gordon said, as I sat at the counter, eating my donut and drinking my coffee, I wondered if I had ever come to the communion table, to the Eucharist. with such an awareness presence of God. When people come together in community, there God is. And if you want to know what a community center is, it's not just a place where they play basketball, and I hope they do have a basketball league. It's not just a place where they play shuffleboard, and I do hope there's shuffleboard for the old folks. It's just not a place where new ideas are spun and people play checkers and chess. It's a place where you build community, where kids learn that you need to belong, where kids learn to be committed to God, to other people and vocations, and to relationships and marriages. I hope and pray that this facility becomes a place where commitments are developed. Because without commitments, we are the hollow men, the straw men, the empty men, blown to and fro by the wind.